The moment I first laid eyes on Jamal, I knew I was playing with fire. There's something about a forbidden man that just hits different, you know? I'm Kiara, 28, and working at this marketing firm wasn't exactly my dream job, but the office drama made up for the boring spreadsheets. Alicia was always going on and on about her perfect husband during lunch breaks, showing us vacation pics and bragging about their new house renovation. The way she'd rub her relationship in everyone's face while I was stuck swiping through trash men on dating apps. Girl, it was insufferable. So when Jamal showed up at our holiday party looking nothing like the basic husband I'd imagined, something just clicked in my brain. Like, her man is fine, with those broad shoulders and that smile. The audacity of this woman to keep him hidden. I remember thinking it would be so funny to just flirt with him a little, knock Miss Perfect down a peg. Just harmless fun until I saw how he looked at me when Alicia went to the bathroom. That's when the joke started feeling like something else. We ended up talking by the drink table, and I swear he was the one who suggested exchanging numbers for networking, he said. Yeah, right. 2 days later, he texted asking if I wanted to grab coffee to hear more about my role at the company. I knew exactly what kind of role he was interested in, but I went anyway. Something about the way Alicia bragged about her perfect life just made me want to see if it was really as perfect as she claimed. The coffee turned into drinks. Drinks turned into his hand on my thigh, and before I knew it, we were making out in his car. He told me they were basically roommates at this point, how she didn't understand him, all that classic married man garbage. But I didn't care the rush of knowing he was choosing me over her, even for a moment. That feeling was better than any dating app match I'd had in years. The hookups became our little secret routine. Tuesday, lunch breaks at that motel off the highway. Friday afternoons when he told Alicia he was working late. Sometimes quick moments in his car in the back of the Whole Foods parking lot. The thrill of it was addictive and not just the sex, but the secrecy. Walking into work and seeing Alicia, smiling at her while knowing I'd just been with her husband. It sounds terrible now, but back then it gave me this twisted sense of power. She'd show me pictures of their weekend together while I'd be deleting texts from him about how much he missed me. And the craziest part? She started treating me like her work bestie. Inviting me to lunch, telling me about their marriage problems, girl. If only you knew, I'd think. Jamal was telling me he'd never felt this way before, that meeting me was making him question everything. I actually started believing we had something real, that maybe I wasn't just the side chick, but the woman he truly wanted. Our conversations went deeper than just hookup talk. He'd tell me about his dreams of starting his own business, how Alicia never supported his ambitions. I started picturing a future where he'd leave her, where we could be together for real. Looking back, I was straight up delusional, but when you're getting those 2 a.m. texts about how he can't stop thinking about you, it feels like more than just an affair. I started getting sloppy, leaving hickeys where his collar wouldn't quite cover them, calling him when I knew he might be home, taking risks because the danger made it even more exciting. That's when the workplace started getting weird. I noticed Imani from accounting giving me these looks, and Tyrese from the design team suddenly stopped talking when I'd walk into the break room. Alicia was still clueless, but everyone else, they were putting it together. Someone must have seen us in that conference room that time we thought everyone was at lunch. Jamal said we needed to cool it for a while, but then he'd show up at my apartment at midnight anyway. I started getting vague warnings from my supervisor about professional boundaries in the office. Alicia kept trying to plan double dates with me and whatever guy I was supposedly seeing, and the lies were getting harder to maintain. One day, she showed me their anniversary plans a weekend at some vineyard and I actually felt jealous. What was wrong with me? I'd started this whole thing as a joke, to take little Miss Perfect down a notch, but now I was catching feelings while risking my whole career. The drama peaked when Jamal and I were arguing in my car in the office parking lot, and our department head walked by. I knew we'd been spotted but tried to play it off like a work discussion. That night, I got a message from a fake Instagram account someone had photos of us together and was threatening to send them to Alicia. I panicked and called Jamal, but he didn't answer. For the first time, I realized just how messy this had become, but instead of backing off, I doubled down. If people were already talking, what was the point of being careful now? I even started leaving my receipts from our dates, where coworkers might see them like I wanted to be caught. Part of me was tired of being the secret, you know? Everything exploded on a Thursday. I walked into work and could tell something was wrong immediately. Alicia wasn't at her desk, but her things were there. My supervisor called me into her office where Alicia was waiting, eyes red and holding printouts of text messages. Apparently Jamal had left his phone unlocked, and she saw everything. The details of our hookups, the things we'd said about her, pictures we'd sent each other. She'd brought them to HR before confronting me. I'll never forget how quiet her voice was when she asked, "Why my husband? Out of everyone, why him?" I had no answer that wouldn't make me sound even worse. I started saying it wasn't serious, just a fling, which only made her more upset. She stood up and said, "You sat next to me every day. You listened to me talk about our marriage counseling while sleeping with him." The HR director explained I was being terminated for creating a hostile work environment. Security watched me pack my desk like I was some criminal. People I'd worked with for 3 years wouldn't even look at me. I drove home in a daze, called Jamal about 20 times with no answer, and then threw up in my bathroom. That's when it hit me I'd been feeling off for weeks. The next morning, I took a pregnancy test, and those 2 lines showed up almost immediately. I wasn't just fired and exposed I was pregnant by my coworker's husband. The joke I'd started for fun had completely destroyed my life. I sat on my bathroom floor for hours, staring at that little plastic stick and wondering how I'd gone from thinking I was in control to watching everything fall apart so fast. Jamal finally called me back after 3 days of silence. He was staying with his brother while trying to work things out with Alicia. When I told him about the pregnancy, he went quiet before saying he needed time to process. Process what? That he might have to face consequences for once? I was jobless, with my rent due in 2 weeks, and suddenly pregnant. My sister was the only person I could tell, and even she was like, "Wow, Kiara, you really messed up this time." My so-called friends started distancing themselves too apparently sleeping with a married man crossed some line in their moral code. Jamal would send money for appointments, without ever specifying what kind of appointments he meant. Was he hoping I'd just handle this myself? Meanwhile, Alicia had blocked me everywhere, but mutual friends told me she was posting cryptic quotes about betrayal and strength. She was getting sympathy from everyone while I was being treated like some home-wrecking villain. Yes, I messed up, but he was the one who made vows, not me. The financial reality was hitting hard, no job, no references, and interviews were not going well. One potential employer had somehow heard through industry gossip what happened at my last position. The stress wasn't good for the pregnancy, but what choice did I have? One night, Jamal showed up at my place, asking if the baby was definitely his. That's when I knew whatever fantasies I'd had about us being together were completely dead. He actually had the nerve to suggest I might have been with other people too, like I was just some random hookup to him. After everything we'd shared, after all the promises he'd made about leaving her eventually, he was standing in my living room acting like I was trying to trap him. I threw his wallet at him. He'd left it at my place the week before and told him to get out. That night I cried until I couldn't breathe, not because I missed him, but because I finally saw clearly what I'd gotten myself into. So here I am now, 5 months pregnant, working a retail job because it was all I could get, and watching Jamal and Alicia's relationship healing journey play out on social media. They're in couples therapy, posting about forgiveness and rebuilding trust, while I'm figuring out how to afford a 1-bedroom apartment before the baby comes. He sends child support checks with no notes, no questions about the pregnancy, nothing. Sometimes I think about how this all started me, feeling smug about messing with Alicia's perfect life, and now look at the result. She's got a whole community supporting her, a husband who's now devoted to proving himself worthy, and what do I have? A baby on the way with a married man who won't even look me in the eye. My mom keeps asking why I couldn't have just found a single man, as if that was the point. Nobody understands that it wasn't about him being married, it was about him being hers. About proving I could take something Alicia valued. Now she's posting about their renewed vows ceremony while I'm buying secondhand baby clothes and trying to find a doctor who takes my new worse insurance. The worst part is, people act like I should have known better, and maybe I should have, but why is it that the other woman always gets all the blame? We both made this choice, but somehow I'm the only one who lost everything. If I could go back, would I do it differently? Honestly, I don't regret going after what I wanted. I regret how it played out, sure, but why should I apologize for the chemistry we had? The world wants me to be the villain in this story, the homewrecker who got what she deserved. But from where I'm standing, I'm just the one who ended up paying the highest price for a joke that stopped being funny a long time ago. And this baby? This innocent child who didn't ask to be born into this mess? That's the real consequence neither of us thought about when we were busy sneaking around in parking lots. So, judge me if you want, but at least I'm stepping up and dealing with the reality while he gets to pretend it never happened. That's the thing about these situations, the men always seem to bounce back just fine, while women like me are left picking up the pieces of a life that will never be the same again.